Holbrook New Media.
This is Jeffrey K. Holbrook. Welcome to the audio feed from holbrooknewmedia.com. Today, Geoff and Jeffrey, the weekly catch-up. We hope you enjoy the audio version. If you want to see what we look like, I will embed the video for this episode at holbrooknewmedia.com.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome, with the week in between, to the weekly catch-up. And we're back, and joining us, as always, the co-host of the weekly catch-up, Jeffrey K. Holbrook. Good morning, Mr. Holbrook, and good evening to me, I suppose.
Yes, good day. Good generic time of the day or something.
That's right.
Okay, first thing I have to do is, shall we, as they say in America, eat crow. Because the last show a couple weeks ago, I was doing the time change here. We were doing our time shift, and I told you, I remember saying, I've got this.
Yes, that's right.
I didn't have it. and so I really messed up. And then I did check early, though, to see what was going on. And then I ended up with this really huge thing that took over an hour. It was an update on Windows and stuff like that. And so I'm like, even after I found out what was going on, then I was blocked out and couldn't actually get into it. So it was like, but anyway, I'm eating crow today because we missed it last week because of me.
Oh, well, we have a similar sort of saying, but it's not quite as nice as that. So. But I mean, we don't say crow. It's similar sort of thing starting with C.
Oh, I see.
So,
that would be shocking.
But I must admit, though, but the same thing with you was checking. I got on here at the right time, and I thought, no, this is definitely because it's still only 5 o'clock, and if he's thinking 7 o'clock, I thought 2 hours different anyway. And then when it got that, I was just about to go to bed, and it was about, I think quarter to 11 o'clock or something, just after 11 o'clock. And I just quickly saw you on Skype. I thought, I haven't got time to quickly, because you must have been checking up just to do that. Then when I got up in the morning and went to work, and then I saw an email said, I can do tonight. And by the time I got it, I thought, no, you'll be in bed. So by the time you do all your work, you won't be there to get up in time. So I thought, we'll just leave it. It just gets too awkward. But it happens twice a year usually, doesn't it? When you fall back and we spring forward. But the problem with us at the moment is we do it at a different time. Usually we used to do it about the same time, and maybe it's on the same weekend. But we go a month earlier now, and in both ways, a month later in the other way.
Well, recently they have been expanding how long daylight saving time operates. And so we're probably in standard time, probably only about 4 months, maybe 4.5 months. And then because we just now switched to it, you've been there for a month, we just now switched to standard time, and we'll switch back to daylight saving time before you switch.
Oh, and she said, we just don't like complication here. There's 12 months in a year, so half daylight saving, half isn't. 6 on, 6 off. It's so that's easy, isn't it? So,
yeah, that makes entirely too much sense to actually work in America.
And our huge country, we have what is it? All we have is we have 3 time zones because we have Queensland. They don't believe in daylight saving, so they're an hour behind now. Okay, and so Sydney, New South Wales, Canberra, Victoria are all, on our time. And then South Australia is half an hour behind us. Okay. And then WA, Western Australia, is 2 hours because they're behind us because they don't believe in daylight saving either. So in winter, it's sort of 3 hours, but it's when we go to daylight saving, it's 2 hours. But then again, it is a jolly long way from here to Western Australia, about 4.5 hour flight. So
wow. Okay.
It is quite a distance for that, but it's quite good. I quite enjoy just the daylight saving. So we get that all the time. So that makes a big difference to getting jobs done, which I don't like because this week or last week I actually got stuck into the gardening.
Oh.
And the trouble with daylight saving, you can't just say, oh, it's too dark now, I can't do it. You've got a bit of extra time to do all these things. So I got stuck in because with the winter, I was doing it a little bit in the winter, but every now and then it was pouring down with the rain and cold, so it got a little bit overgrown. So I took 2 days and kept doing 2 bits and pieces of it. And my hands were swollen like RSI, picking up, doing all the weeds. And, I was never been so tired because it's not so much it's just you're kneeling and you're in such a horrible position. They've even got a knee, but you can't stand up to do it. You can't sit down to do it. You're always half and half doing. So so I got all that done, but I feel so accomplished now that it's all out there. So now the garden beds look quite neat and approachable, and I must look like I was suffering because I've got one of the neighbours who kept coming up with some. She said, "I've got too many flowers. Do you want some? I'm going to throw them away. Here, have this and plant this." Because I said, "Oh, that's good because I don't mind cleaning it up, but I'm hopeless at knowing what grows." I said, "Whatever," and I don't know, and I'll go and buy something. It could be horrible. So I said, if you've got anything, I'll just put whatever you say.
Sure. Yeah. Like I say, if it's her flowers, then she has experience in how to do them. Maybe you ought to go out and plant a couple of things on top of that Mercedes. Well,
that's right. Is that because you're going to say that by the time that they do pick it up, that the grass will have grown underneath it and the flowers will be coming out the side mirrors, and that could be the case by the time they get to actually do something like that. So
no, I know what you mean there. There was something interesting that I had meant to say whenever we had it the last show, which we didn't have. My brother, yeah, my fault. Sorry. Okay, sign language people. I'm sorry. Okay, but anyway, my brother and them, they have a cardio club. It's a exercise dance type studio.
Oh, yes.
Okay. And they do this thing every time it's Halloween that has to do with Michael Jackson's Thriller song. And everybody dresses up like zombies. And it happens around the world in different places. And right at the same time, everybody's supposed to be doing it. And so they actually went out and did it. At one point, they did it on this open street in a residential area, and they're out there and they're doing all the zombie stuff and all the zombie moves and everything like that. And somebody filmed it on their phone, and sent it to Facebook.
Oh.
And so that was cool. It's a local thing in Parkersburg, West Virginia. Guess how many hits they got?
Oh, 100 million.
2.3 million. Hits
I was just gonna
on this thing.
Gee,
I mean, I know you were being facetious, but still 2.3 million. Just the last time I checked it, 2.3 million hits, and that's just this one guy's Facebook, and he's not like a celebrity or anything. It just everybody loved it.
But that's not. I mean, it's only been a short time.
So, no, that happened. That happened in the space of about a week and a half. I mean.
Quite popular, so once people gets around, like, and I know if you send me a link, I'll go and have a look at that because I think that would be good. So
yeah, I'll have to go and get the link. The guy that did it wasn't a friend of mine, but I was able to go and hunt him down and find him. But right on the front row are my sister-in-law, my niece, and then over to the left of where you're watching, over to the left, my brother is that zombie in the suit. And so, I mean, but it looks really good. The makeup's really good, and they're all duplicating the actual Michael Jackson moves in the actual song. And I mean, it's really well done. And then the videoing at me, it just took off. It was great.
It's such a good song, though. If people want to do that, I remember in Hard Rock Cafe in Orlando, there was having tea, and then all of a sudden, then Michael Jackson's Thriller came on, and then all the staff are doing it.
Yes.
Doing that during the day, and it was really impressive. They did such a good job of it. So, and I thought it was quite impressive. But it's quite easy to have if they've just got the moves right. It looks really good, doesn't it? And because everybody knows what it's supposed to be like, and I think that still is one of my favorite film clips. And I remember when that came out, it was sort of the turning point in music clips, wasn't it? It was.
Yes, it was.
I know about 84, I think it was. I think about 1984 or something. Because I remember I got the beta video cassette that was in hi-fi stereo. I was so proud of that because it came through really good. But it was just so different. But it's like a mini movie rather than a music thing. And nobody did that then, did they? So.
No. That's what it turned into. They actually did the full thing where he's actually walking with the girl on the street and talking to her, and they did. They actually made it a small movie, and it's epic. It's still, it holds up today. All these years later, it still holds up. So.
Still, and I think we owe that a lot of the advancements in sort of movie making for us, for the likes of us, like this morphing technology, because he's the money and that for these adverts that developed that, because some of those ones where he morphs out of something into him, in that they paid a fortune to get that done for him in them days, but then that technology became cheaper and cheaper, and now you can get it for next to nothing, can't you? Really?
I mean, you're set up to do it right there at your house on the setup you've got.
Yeah, it's just quite incredible. But just even that morphing technology, and some of these people who push the barriers, and people think, they're wasting the money. It really does. It's a bit like the space race. So, like a lot of people argue, well, what's the point? And hey, maybe that, but there's been a lot of advancements come out for our day-to-day lives because they did that. Like, those, small light space blankets that keep people warm and that, but that technology where they would have never come up with that if they never had to have smaller, lighter and faster things. They would never get all these extra materials that was lighter to get out of the atmosphere. But then again, what's the American conspiracy is that the Americans never left the ground anyway.
Oh, yeah. I always have to have all the conspiracy stuff. Of course, I was 6 years old when it happened, so I really wasn't there. But, I was raised to believe that it was legit, we all felt real good about ourselves. There was an awful lot of money spent on a lot of things. If, I've stood beside of a Saturn V rocket before, and I actually had one, there's one there. And, it was just kind of like, that's pretty big. That sure was a nice model they built that was that big if they didn't really do anything with them.
Well, yeah, and it would have had to have been a full-size one because people stand out there at Cape Canaveral, isn't it, and watch them go up. So there's something going up there, isn't there?
Yeah. Yeah, the people on the outside had something going on. I guarantee there was something happening, because you're not going to get several thousand people to doctor pictures all to make it look like it happened, for the conspiracy,
And then part of that conspiracy is that's where then they show pictures of the round Earth, and everybody still think, no, it's flat. It's just that's part of the conspiracy, that nobody's actually been out there. It is still flat, the world. Really?
Just walking along, mind your own business. Well, they've been high enough in airplanes they can see the curvature of the Earth, like the that spy plane they used to have in the United States called the SR-71. I read an article about it when I was in my teens in Reader's Digest, and they were up high enough that you could see the curvature of the Earth, and above them it was black, and then they were up high enough to where you could actually see the curvature of the Earth from that airplane, not out in space, but from the airplane you could see it. So,
I remember when I was little, I could never understand why it was so many hours sort of getting from California to New York, yet a plane going from Los Angeles to London would get there differently, because I thought, how can it be shorter? Because they go over the short part of the air. They don't go across the big bit. They go across the short bit. And, it takes, when you're a little kid, you just can't figure that out. How can that be?
Well, I always imagine there'd be a difference if you're going against the rotation of the Earth instead of trying to chase it. You can, if you're going the opposite way the world's turning, you're gonna get there a little quicker than if you're chasing it going in any other direction.
I think just before, when we started talking about the time zones in Western Australia, always when you go to Western Australia, you're going against the current. So, and that takes you about 4 hours to get there, and you're traveling at about 670 kilometers an hour or something. But then when you're coming back, you're doing about 1,100 kilometers an hour going with it, because you've got but it's just quite amazing how much faster you go. So Also, no, 5 hours going there and just under 4 hours coming back.
Mhm.
So you pick up an hour difference from that. So
Oh, that's cool. The only closest I ever came to that was one time, and this was on the ground. I spent 2 hours in Danville, Illinois, and left an hour later.
hey, hang on, you spent.
Huh? Well,
Hey,
no,
you
we went in there and the van broke down. We were on our way. We
oh,
were on a school trip and the van broke down, and we spent 2 hours there getting it fixed. And then when we left, the time zone goes right through the city, right through the town.
oh,
So,
okay.
so as we were leaving, we just crossed the time zone, and we only spent an hour there. After we had been there 2 hours, we only left an hour later. It was pretty funny.
Well, that's the thing is, like I was saying before about our time zones, we don't have many, but when we do have them, they always cause problems because they're always so close. Like there was this one place, like we have the daylight, but we had some of the states that said, yes, they had daylight saving, but they're not going to have the full 6 on, 6 off. They're
Okay.
going to have 5 and 3/4. So it's 2 weeks difference to ours.
Wow.
So the people who lived on the border, half the town was at one time and the other part of the town was at the other half because they were in the other state. And, and they made all sorts of problems when it's just for that week. And then New Zealand, then we have a problem because New Zealand tend to do everything a week different to us.
Mhm.
So we're quite usually that we're about 2 hours difference, but then for a week we're 3 hours difference. It makes nobody want. They should say just all chat.
Looks like we hung up. Looks like we got hung up there for a second.
Oh, did we? Oh, well, the stream's still going anyway on
Yay.
that. So,
Okay. Yeah, looks
so
like it.
hopefully hopefully that's still going good. So, what were we just saying then?
No. That's fine. I just said that it was done that way. You were talking about we were talking about the time changes. Seemed like to me if it's only 2 weeks separated from one to the other, that there should be, you guys could agree to, because that would be so confusing.
There was one really confusing that had in the middle of was it Tonga? Is it something between here and Hawaii? There's a little country,
Mhm.
and they were. I forget they were because they're in the middle. Which time zone did they were on? American time zone.
Oh, okay. Well,
And
we have Pacific time over in California.
But they decided to flick to our time zone. So
Oh,
in one day they missed a day because we were ahead, and you're behind. So on one they didn't lose an hour; they lost 18 hours. They lost.
so there's like a day out of their history gone.
Yeah, I said to them,
That's
yeah,
not fun.
the switch because where the position they was on American time, but all they ever dealt was with New Zealand and all this side of the world,
Sure.
and everything was always the days were out because yes, it was the same doing the business, but they'll say it's Thursday and said no, it's still Wednesday. They said they very rarely dealt with Hawaii, so they thought they'll go to that. But that's such a major change, isn't it? So
Mm-hmm. Hey,
I suppose. Sorry.
oh no. I was just going to say you had mentioned that you'd done some videoing whenever you did the last show, and you were going to bring it up the last time.
Well, yes. Well, I did some videoing, so and I went out. We had the Melbourne Cup, so here we have in Victoria we have a public holiday for a racing, a horse race. That was good. That month, as long as we get a day off, that was good for that.
Mhm.
But I took a day off before that, so on annual leave, and a couple of days after it, so I'd had a week off. So I thought on the Monday it'll be nice and quiet. I'll go into the city with my cameras and do a little bit of filming, and it'd be really nice just to do that. And of course, go in there, feel a little bit quiet, and then every man and his dog's in the city because they had the Melbourne Cup parade before it. So Monday, so there I got quite a lot of filming done because I thought there was something there to film. So at least it got me out to do the filming anyway. So and also I was trying to be normal and just jump on the train to get into the city, or else I probably would have known if I'd got caught in the traffic and that. But I thought, everybody else seems to be able to catch a train easily, so I'll see how I can do it. So they're all complaining about the way our train tickets work because we go and buy a credit card thing and just swipe on and swipe off, and they all reckon it's so hard. And my cousin came over in February this year from England, And they just got it, and they said, well, it can't be that damn hard. I'd always sort of avoided that, but I found it was quite easy to go into the city, much cheaper. It cost me $7 there and back on the train, where it would have cost me $15 to park in the city, and then it would cost probably at least $7 worth of petrol to get me there and back. So I thought it was quite reasonable. So, and as long as I don't travel at night, it doesn't bother me.
Where I live in such a rural area, we don't really have. I mean, there's public transportation that runs in the city and just barely on the outside of it, but there are no buses running from here or trains running from here to get you into the city. Again, we have very small cities here as well, so it's not like there's any kind of a major transportation thing, because if you don't have a car, I mean, really, even getting a cab out here would be phenomenally expensive. So you drive or you don't go. That's just how it is. So you have to have cars out here to get anywhere, and there's no real choice about anything else except possibly a car. Sometimes people carpool, but that's it.
Yeah, well, we've sort of it's always been here. It's the same sort of thing. You really always need a car, but it's only been the last few years that you've probably actually been able to get public transport, like a bus, anywhere on a weekend. I see people can go by train, but usually to get to a train station, even if you've got a car, there's so limited car parking spots that you have trouble parking at the train station. So I'm fortunate where I am, the train station, I can just walk around the back of a few houses as a footpath. Then it takes me about 5-10 minutes, about 10 minutes maximum to walk there. So it's not worth driving there. And so you can just jump on the train. It makes it nice and easy. So,
well, that would be, yeah.
But as I said, a lot of the things, it's got better and better here, but it's still the sort of place, it's still nice to have a car that you can just jump into it and go, because everywhere's like there, I suppose. Everywhere seems to be a long way away. It's not like when I used to live in England, everywhere's close by. It's all within walking distance or just a 2-minute bus ride up there. Whereas here, you go to a friend's place and it might be sort of, an hour's drive from your house to your friend's place, but that's nothing. Whereas in England, you wouldn't drive an hour to go on your annual vacation.
Well, yeah, you might find yourself in a channel if you're not careful.
Well, that's right. So I remember in England there was people who would go on holidays and would say, "Oh goodness, we forgot to take this on there, but we suffered through it." And where they went on holidays, I go further to work every day. That's what I could have walked home if I'd forgotten that. But they go on holidays, and I thought it would have been about a 5-minute car ride or a 10-minute car ride, and then that's how far they went on holidays. But I thought, anyway. So.
Well, there's this new thing they're going to be doing at the local postal facility where I'm at, the Human Resources Department. They have they just put an announcement in their local Facebook page. And what evidently they're going to be doing, they haven't even started it. They haven't got the equipment or anything yet. But one of the things they're going to do is they were asking for if there was any employees that actually had video editing experience, that type of stuff. And they're not going to do anything really, really drastic. But what they're going to do is take have events that have to do with the post office and things like that, and they'll have somebody to video them, and then put a music bed behind them and things like that. And I have run video cameras before, in larger setups with other people, multiple camera setups, and also I do have a little experience with music beds and doing things like that. So they basically put my name on the list. I asked, what types of equipment, what software you're using, whatever, and they're like, the IT department hasn't bought it yet. So we're just getting used to, we're just getting a list of people who have that. And what would happen is you keep your current job, but whenever there's work to be done in that, you just take your work day and do it around the event. And then in their offices, you're doing the editing and everything right there. Then you go back to your job, that type of stuff. So seems
great.
Seems like it'd be fun. I'm liable to ply you with a few questions about certain video things based on what equipment they come up with. But problem is the IT people, the computer people are the ones going to be buying the equipment and stuff. So I don't know what I'll end up working with. Knowing them, it'll cost way more than what it's worth because the way the budgeting goes.
That thing is, if you've got endless budget, you can waste a lot of money,
Hmm.
or else then people go the other way. They get too rubbishy and think, oh no, that'll do. I'll just get they can do it on an iPhone.
Hmm.
Well, yes, you might be able to do it on there, but it's depends. Well, what do you want? It's more so the quality that you do want. Like on iPhone, I just did put a video up. Don't know if you saw it just the other week when I went to Lennox and I took a little video with and that was all done through the iPhone.
Oh, it looked great. I showed it to my wife too, on the TV. And well, that looks great. I didn't know you were doing it on your iPhone. That was great stuff.
That was just the iPhone because I was going to this conference. It's a work thing, so I just had the phone and I went. I got to it was starting the conference at sort of 8:30 in the morning. I got into the city at 7 in the morning. So I just thought, I'll do a bit of filming on that just to show how good a quality that the iPhone can do. It just does such a great quality, but the only thing is that's where when you're doing a thing like that for your work, you need something where you can actually see what you're doing. Whereas on that iPhone, I could because it was overcast and early in the morning, but if the sun was out, I would just be hit and miss just holding it up, hoping I get that. Whereas when you're doing a proper, you want it to be able to show it good. And like the things, like you said, as long as you get the right equipment, and you don't need a terrible lot, but you just need a proper video camera, not a DSLR, because if you're doing events, the idea is you might want to just it might be a boring, long 2-hour thing that they want you to film, but you'll edit it out to 6 minutes. But you'll need to film it all. You'll need to film all the thing, no matter what it is, but at all different angles, and that just so you can get something out of it. But what I would be doing is, well, if you get any way into that, is say if they're looking at cameras, say, well, how much are you prepared to spend? Oh, well, on a camera, say, if they're prepared to pay $3,000 on a camera, say, why don't you just cut it in half and buy two cameras, because that would be the best way. So you could have two sides of it. So you could do a multicam view on that, because that's always the thing with these events. People just get fed up with just the same angle. If you just stick a tripod, but then again, the other option is if you start moving around and hand carrying it, people just fed up with that. They don't like that.
Yeah, all the shaking and everything like that. Yeah,
they do that in some moves, but I'll tell you, I'm just obsessed with stability. I just can't stand when it moves, and no matter how, I just love it nice and steady, and just doing shots where it's just perfectly still, or if you move it, it goes perfectly still. And I know some films I see, they chitter around and it nearly makes me sick. I don't know. When they do it really like, oh, let's go, and there's cameras jumping up and down. I just hate that when they do that. So.
My daughter wanted to go to a concert one time, and it was like a heavy metal Christian band concert, and so it's there's a lot of noise going on, everything. I think they even had a mosh pit before it was over with. But anyway, I'm out in the audience, and my daughter's enjoying the concert. Well, I have my camera, and I'm doing video and stuff. And so I am holding the thing up. Everybody else is jumping around and headbanging and doing whatever they were doing. And I'm doing this really nice, steady video, of what's going on, and everybody's, so my daughter takes it and puts it on her page, and everybody's going, wow, amazing video. And she said, thank you. I never said anything, but it's like, oh, well, thank you, and so everybody's just banging, and there's all kinds of bouncy video you can find, but I was trying to do something that you might see if there was a documentary being done about the concert. I did some from out there, some from, different places, and, and so anyway, she got some good use out of it, and it worked out really well. I would imagine I'm guessing, well, what I told them that my forte was more the audio, and then some voiceover I could do for it and stuff like that. But she just basically said, you would be doing the filming, and then put a music bed behind it or something like that. She didn't totally know what all they would be doing, but I have a feeling they'll get equipment that's probably capable of more than what they think is possible. So the point, I guess, would be to turn out something that was superior to what they were expecting, and then everybody will be happy.
And like I said, if you do really is impressive is when you do get a multicam view. Like even if you've got 3 cameras, because I mean, if they're prepared to spend 3, you could even get 3 cheapy cameras, because it all depends what's the quality that they want. And I've got a lot of these. You can get a real expensive Sony HD camera for about $600. And I mean, you could get 3 of them, but that's more than enough for most of the things. But if you start filming them all at once, sync them up at different angles, and when you're editing it, you can just pick between. It just looks so professional. So if you've got something, now they go from here, then you click to the other camera, and when you're short, well, you've only got one person, you can still have 2 cameras fixed in a position and the third one going, as long as you sync them at the beginning. And just the number one rule is just keep filming, just film all of it, everything.
And then you can just switch between cameras and the software itself, and then it does this one, then it does that one, it does that one. Well, that's cool.
Great thing with that though is like we're doing here. Like if I flick from, this shot to, back to this shot, or back to my shot, or to that shot. When you get a multicam view, you can do the same in the editing suite, but you can go back and redo it. You don't have to cut it anymore. You just go back and say, oh, no, I wanted that. So when you go, I'll flick to that one, to this one, and you can edit it. It's quite good once you do sync it up. It takes a lot of space, but these days, most of the cameras, you've got, terabytes worth of space to do it. And it's just if you start and stop, it makes it very hard because you can't sync it all. But then again, there's, I was saying, how you do it in video. When if you have a big long video, and then you have recorded like you do with your audio, your separate audio. Well, most of the editing programs, you can just say, here's the video, here's the audio. And as long as you've got something really unique that sounds the same, like if there's a loud clap or the software picks that up and it will sync it at that point. So your camera could start at one point and the audio could start earlier. But as long as you've got that big point, it will match it up. But I always used to think, well, they all do that. Like, Premiere Pro does it. Final Cut, it all does it very nice. And then there's this program called Pluralize.
Okay.
Pluralize. It's hard to say. I can say it with an American accent. Pluralize.
There you go. That's perfect. Yeah.
Pluralize. I can't say it without plural. And one of the things I thought, why would you pay extra for this when all of these ones have it? And somebody said, you really wanted that? It says, that is fantastic. You can do 50 little shots, and you've recorded on your audio 50 different times on that. You throw them all into a file, throw it into Pluralize. It sorts out all the audio clips, puts them to all the video clips that it matches up with, and puts it all together. And I thought, that's why you pay. It's about a $400 package. It's as expensive as the editing package.
But
if you've got all that would save you hundreds of hours worth of work.
Yeah, I was going to say it would pay for itself at an hourly rate at a very, very short period of time.
Yeah, but that's the sort of, I think they're the people, Pluralize, are the ones that helped with the technology within Final Cut and those sort of, I think that's sort of the technology. They must have licensed it somehow to sync. Quite good how it does it. You just say, here's the video, here's the audio, sync it. But what it does, it doesn't wreck your two qualities. It makes another clip with that put together.
Oh, okay.
So you never wreck your two versions are still separate. So you can take them away. It just does a copy and puts them all together, which is, and like nice. We've always said, I always have the sound coming from the recording on the camera, but very rarely use it because that's always, it's just, like we've said before, it sounds very, very unprofessional. If you have that echoey sound, but you can get away with a bit of a awkward, an awful video if it's a bit dark and that, but if the sound's really good, you'll get away with that. But also I would suggest, I don't know if I talked about, I think I did the other week on it, be a little thing called the Pilot Fly.
And I remember you mentioning the name, yeah.
It's a handheld thing, and it's just such a good, and you can get different if you get lighter things, but it's about $1,000, but that's a good one just so you can go around and get the perfect pans and really handheld. But as I said, I still don't like walking because it's still, if you walk too much, you'll still see a jerk. But the thing is, I find no matter how still you hold a camera in your hand, I can still see a move. And in most of these packages, you can stabilize them and fix that, but you'll always lose something. It cuts out a bit of the frame because what it does, it puts it always center.
Okay.
Then you'll have little bits out the side, so it crops the video when it does that, and also you lose a bit of the quality. So I always like to have, if you can have the best quality video possible without the movement. And as I said, that's where, even when you're doing it handheld, but handheld with holding it on the tripod, that's still far better than holding it on your hand, because your breathing doesn't seem to transfer through to the tripod. But when you're holding it in your hand, every little breath you take seems to make a darn difference on that. Anyway.
Sounds good. Well, we haven't said anything at all about the election in America.
Well, aren't we supposed to be was it what they call apolitical or something? So.
Yes, it was not. Well, basically, Mr. Trump, since he wasn't supported really by the Republican Party leadership, he basically ended up destroying one political party, thrashing the other one, and then sending an earthquake through Washington, because it's the first president we've had that I know of in our history that is not beholden to one of the main political parties.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't owe anybody anything. The Republicans tried to keep him out, and so he can work with them if he wants to when it's in his common interest. He can work with the Democrats if he wants to, because he's not burning any bridges. They're already not there. And so he doesn't have all these big lobbyist relationships, that most presidents would have. He doesn't have, large corporations that owe any, that he owes anything to. So the whole wild card situation is what's scaring a lot of people. They don't really know what he's going to do, because he doesn't have the usual restraints or the usual relationships that most, political relationships that most presidents do when they go in. So it's kind of an interesting thing.
And most of them, it's probably, I can't remember, he's a businessman, whereas most of them are all lawyers or just professional politicians, aren't they?
Yes, they are. I mean, lawyers, they'll start out and then they'll decide to get into politics, and they work their way up to the presidency. It's not like you just jump right into being president. He's never held any political office of any kind. I got the biggest kick out of it whenever things started kind of turning around and going Trump's way. We were watching a television series, and then every now and then we would go back and just see what was happening. And there was one of the news guys. He's talking about the people that turned out to vote for Trump. There's like people in the countryside, all the country people that normally don't turn out that way. Naturally there were some people that didn't like him and didn't vote at all, possibly. But the whole thing about these people in the countryside, and one of the news guys said, we don't even poll these people. And that's why all the polls were wrong, because, and I know, a lot of the people out in the country, if they were to call up and say, hey, I'm doing a, political poll about this, they'd be like, well, I'm not going to tell you anything, and just hang up. It's kind of like, so they had no idea how these people were going to turn out and vote for him, and kind of put him up over the top. But the Electoral College did what it's supposed to do. It was originally set up in order to keep the cities from overrunning the countryside on every election. So it lets each state decide for itself who they want. So New York City, Pittsburgh, Chicago. Looks like we've frozen again. You're back. Okay. Yeah, we froze there for a little bit. It froze on the stream too, it appeared. But anyway,
you said Donald Trump, that's why.
Yeah, that could be it, because maybe even Skype is upset. But what happens is, the large cities, Chicago and places like that, you'll notice, I don't know if you happen to look at the map, but the map had Illinois but all the surrounding states around it mostly were red states. They went for Trump. And so the large cities, there's a different philosophy. It's not Republican or Democrat or conservative or liberal anymore. It is city and country. The cities have one philosophy of life, basically fee for service. You pay to have things done for you, and that's freedom. people in the countryside don't want to pay as much and are more than happy to take care of themselves and want to be left alone by the government. To obviously there's certain things, but just to an extent, they want to be government to be less hands-on with them and not order their lives around, and they consider that freedom. So it's two different philosophies: the city philosophy and the country philosophy. And if the cities, if it was all by popular vote, then the cities would always choose the president because of their large populations. And
like like they said, if it was that, if it wasn't for the electoral college, it would be California and New York would always decide who's going to be the president, and they said it would never change because they've got the biggest populations, and as I said, so big, they said it would just never do it. And like you were saying about when they were doing the polls, and I was hearing a lot about that, and because they said nobody was commenting that they were voting for Trump, even when they were. They said they could be, and like, I mean, if I was doing that, when I couldn't be bothered with the rubbish I'd get, because everybody said, "What are you doing?" Then you get an argument and just say, "Oh, what?" But I don't know. Like there, you were saying about asking people. Here, people are very peculiar about if you ask them who you vote for. It's like saying, "How much do you earn?" How much do you have in the bank? You don't tell people things like that, but it's the sort of thing. It's the sort of thing you don't talk about. And I've always thought these polls were very strange, because and a lot of people do say what they think people want them to say. Like if there is one that's a bit of a radical that they know they're going to get a bit of thing of, I better not say I voted for that. I know I won't get too much rubbish if I say I voted for Hillary. So most of them would be just say, "Oh yeah, we voted for her."
Well, most of it though, one of the things, if you said you were going to vote for Trump, and I've watched this happen to a lot of people, if you said you were going to vote for Trump, then you were immediately branded a racist. Just what a horrible person you were. I mean, it was politically incorrect to vote for Trump. I mean, because you were immediately called names. Anybody that wanted to vote for him. Now, there's a lot of people that voted against Hillary, didn't really like him too well, but they voted against Hillary. Okay, well, and they had a tendency to vote for Trump. But I mean, it's not because Trump was such a great guy. It's just he wasn't Hillary. And so they voted for him only because he was running against Hillary. And then there were other people that really, I mean, I don't know anybody that really liked either one of them. I mean, all the people and all the discussion, everything on, and each side was trying to come up with reasons to vote, for their side, because it's not as bad as Trump, or, it's not as bad as Hillary, and I mean, it's the worst. I mean, I've never seen an election where none of them were likable.
No, and it's like they always say here with our elections, it says politicians never win. It's one of them lose. That's what it said. It says nobody wins. It's just they don't like somebody, so they're not voting for the other one because they're the better one. It's just they don't like the other one. And it's said it's usually somebody loses in that. Then, like you said, a lot of people didn't like that. But I think, like you were saying, that town and country thing, they forgot about it, and they thought there's a hell of a lot of areas in the country, and they were just shocked, and nearly because I saw all that red on. There was nearly everything in that centre was all red, wasn't it?
Except for Illinois.
Yeah,
that's where Obama was from. What
was it they said though that was there was the Ohio, because they said there's whoever's got in has always won Ohio, and Trump won that, didn't he? Because that was another stronghold that they thought that the Democrats was going to get, didn't they?
Well, Wisconsin and Michigan were supposed to be hands down. They were safe for the Democrats. Florida was going to be close, but they fully expected her to take it. They got Virginia, but the reason they got Virginia was because the Clintons had really stumped hard for the governor of that, because the guy who's the governor of Virginia was in Bill Clinton's administration, and they had spent a lot of time there stumping for him. And of course, he got elected, so he was able to carry the state for them. But it was a lot different. I mean, I've heard people saying now that they're going to check into the science of polling, because they were wrong in the Brexit polling too. I mean, they just messed all that up. And so
But
it really
that's
changes
quite,
the whole thing.
and that's quite similar to your situation as well. It was the city,
Mhm.
all the the populated areas like London's got such a big population, but it's the same thing. It's all done on regions and centres. They forgot about all the country folk.
Mhm.
didn't care about them. Well, the city people know, us educated people know the best,
Mhm.
in the city, and
Right.
that's what they were saying. Oh, only uneducated people voted for Trump, and all that. And I think that upset a lot of the voters as well when people said, "How we?"
Well, the people in the countryside and the news people, whenever it started going that way, they called them uneducated whites,
Yeah.
was what they called them. Um, they were called, Hillary called them deplorables. There was this thing where the President Obama went somewhere, and it was a fundraiser with all friendly people to him, and he was talking about how people in the country cling to their religion and guns. I mean, just it was okay to make fun of people in the countryside. I mean, it's, you're not allowed to say things about certain groups, but people out in the country, the troglodytes out there, the old hillbillies and all these people out there, you can trash them all you want, and it's politically correct to do so. And they kind of got tired of being made fun of, because and even then they just said the uneducated, uncollege educated white people out there were the ones that did it. And so there's this huge outcry that, racism is back on the scene and all that kind of stuff like that. And it's kind of like, okay, no, but what is weird. Okay, it's
What I
done. It's done. It's set. It's legal. She has
that's what
conceded. And now there's, um, a bunch of protests in the cities, about him being elected president. What's interesting is the Trump people say that it's because they don't have jobs and they've all been on welfare and stuff, and that's why they've got time to march in the cities. And that the Trump people quietly came home from their jobs, went out and voted, went back to their jobs like they're supposed to, and if this was basically the country version of an urban riot, instead of breaking windows and stealing televisions, you just come out and vote, and then you just go home, and then you go to your job again, and you do what you were continually doing. You're the cash cow. You're the one paying for everything. And so,
but that
yeah, I mean, it's all one sided, no matter who's saying it. But you see what I'm saying.
and that's what there was some. Well, I heard a commentator saying that's why you have elections on a Tuesday,
Mhm.
to try and keep the masses of the people so they can't get out from work to vote. Because most of the places, as I said, they'll do it so it's awkward. Whereas, like here, all of our voting's done on a Saturday.
Oh, really?
So we're not allowed. It's all done on the Saturday. So.
Well, it sounds like to me the police are coming to get you. Can you hear that? I'm hearing sirens. Maybe it's here. Nope, there it is over there.
Sure.
I see an ambulance and a fire truck. The leaves are off now, so I can see out the window now over there. I thought they were coming to get you.
I was just saying, what annoys me though with all the protesters is, I just see, we're fighting for democracy. So, well, hang on. So if they just throw him out, isn't that going against democracy?
Well, I mean, they just got democratized. That's what happened to them. It worked that way. And the Obama, I will give him credit. He says, he come out in the paper the other day, a couple days ago. He said, look, Trump won. It's time to get over it and get to work. This is the way it works. The kind of place we have, it doesn't only work whenever it goes your way. He said, we've had this for the last 8 years, and he says, this time it went the other way, and he said, that's the way it's designed to work. He said, it's time to, of course, again, whether or not they have anywhere to go or not, I don't know. But, they're spending all their time, marching around in town and complaining about the election results when it's completely illegal, set up, the peaceful transfer of power. That's what it's all about. And, and you'd be saying this, but you would not have had protests if Hillary would have won. Because the people that voted for Trump, they just politely voted and then went back to their jobs. They're pretty peaceful people.
But I think with that, though, it's going to make the Democrats much stronger the next time, because they've got a lot of work to do. So they've got a lot of things to prove. So it will make a big difference. But with all these protests, I'd love to see if they sort of got them and saw how many of these protesters actually voted. I wouldn't be, and as I said, like they have sometimes people who protest and that, but here we get fined if we don't vote. So it's sort of,
Fined?
it's mandatory. It's illegal not to vote. You've got to, but as I said, so
I'm
if you
sorry,
don't go,
I just find that amazing.
if you don't go to the voting station and get your name ticked off the register, you can get $75 fine, and if you don't pay that, you can get into real trouble because they make everybody vote. So, as I said, some
Wow.
people just go, but if you just go there and you can get your name ticked off, you can do whatever you want there. Nobody can see what you're doing, and you can just put your bits of paper in the thing or do whatever you want to do. But most people, if you've gone to the trouble of getting there, you say, well, I might as well do that. But and then if you've got something like, if you can't get that out of the house, you can apply for a postal vote and do it like everybody does. But no, we all have to. And we just had recent council elections, and it's mandatory. You've got to. It's illegal not to vote. So
you guys have 100% turnout all the time then. Wow.
The only way they don't is if you turn 18 and you don't register to vote. But once you've registered, you can not register. Nobody will, because you won't be on the books, so they can't find you. But then you can't all of a sudden say, I want to. Well, if you want to kick up and complain, you better get yourself registered and put your mark in whatever candidate you want. So.
I have a friend that I work with, and we were able to go to her. She's from the Philippines, and we were able to go to her naturalization ceremony, and that was really cool. And so I was asking her if she was going to vote. And again, I didn't try to tell her how to vote. I know her husband, who I'd met before, was very, very much the Hillary supporter, one way or the other. And I just assumed, that if she, because she was kind of confused by the process, but he didn't vote and she didn't either. And she said she was completely flabbergasted by the whole thing. I mean, it was so wild and so weird and so harsh that she didn't know what to do, and she was just confused by it all.
And that's fair enough, and that's what they argue here. Is it said, well, if you are, well, you should be able to say, well, I'm not going to, because whichever one I vote for, it's going to be a wrong vote because I have no idea. So let somebody decide, as we said. But then always the argument is here is said, well, if you don't put in, you've got your little vote, you might not think counts, but all the millions of those little people thinking the same thing, so you never know. And that's what's happened this time with all those little people that say, oh no, the major ones will do this, but they just didn't count on a lot of the people that they didn't expect to vote. But what amazed me was that Trump got, 46% of the female vote.
Yeah, it was, I mean, believe it or not, women live out in the country.
But as I said, you would have, so there's all this stuff about him with him abusing women and doing all that. I don't think anybody really cared, but it's quite amazing how, knowing all of these things after the campaign, it's like his persona changed totally.
Well, yeah, and so did Hillary's, and so did Obama's. Immediately, they were just suddenly, okay, it's settled. Now let's get on with their lives.
Because it's sort of like a sideshow that, yes, all these roasts that they have and that they say horrible things, but they say it's like being in Parliament here. In Parliament here, I don't like it is in yours, I suppose. They can say anything they want in Parliament and not get sued and done that for. Do they have the same rule in yours? So whatever they say in Parliament, they can say outrageous lies. It doesn't matter. You're not liable, doesn't apply in there. But if you say outside of the house, you get into trouble.
Well, yeah, I think you can say what you want, but there is this enforced. I've watched the English Parliament a little bit and watch them yelling and screaming at each other and calling each other names and stuff. Well, usually what they'll do here is say, pardon me, but the senator from the great state of Vermont is full of cow excrement. I mean, they're very formal about how it's almost like Shakespearean insults and stuff like that. We had a guy here recently that Obama was in there, and Obama was up front during the State of the Union address, and he made some kind of a statement about something that the other side obviously disputed, but of course it was his thing. And some guy, some representative yelled, "You lie." And that guy almost lost his seat because of that
Oh.
breach of etiquette.
Oh.
Because, you don't, it's very, very, a lot of gravity and very formal. And, you just don't, you can think it all right and you can say it in private, but you can't say things like that out in open session because it's just not proper. And, to watch them scream at each other in British Parliament, I really enjoy that. It's like watching a hockey game.
Yeah. But then I just hope everybody just settles down and just get on with it because, I love America too. I've visited there, but I just want to see the place get fixed up. And if somebody can do a good job, well, like I said, the government's there for everybody. So hopefully, let's hope he can do. Now he's been put in. Hopefully, he can do well for you. So,
well, like you say, the people who are protesting and the Hillary supporters in general, basically believe, at least what's being said publicly, is that this is the end of tolerance in America. That it's over. Racism is now going to be up front and it's going to become legal. He's going to make it to where, minorities can't vote. He's going to, do all this. I mean, it's not going to happen.
No.
It isn't going to happen at all.
I just heard some ridiculous thing at some school that they're not allowed to sing "Baa Baa Black Sheep."
Okay.
Because they've said, well, what's wrong with that? It's said because, and they said, well, what you're describing, it's a sheep, but it's just a little song. But I mean, that's the thing where I think he got himself all, because he just didn't do any of the political correct things and sounds really horrible, the way he said a lot of things. But it's like everybody a bit of I think this day people just go overboard with political correctness too much. But you just got to be careful these days.
I think there were plenty of people who didn't like the things he was saying, but they were impressed with the idea that he was not bound by political correctness.
That's right.
He would just say whatever he thought. Now, again, they didn't think the way he was thinking, but the idea that he was a white guy and wasn't afraid to say what he thought. We just had something here in West Virginia, one of the small towns. There was a it was on Facebook or Twitter. One of them said a really horrible thing about Michelle Obama. And this has gone national about what they did. And she was like the county clerk or the city clerk or something. And then on the same posting, the mayor of the little city, it's a little town, little tiny place, said, you just made my day. I mean, and so that lady lost her job immediately, pretty much. And then the mayor is under fire, and they're trying to get the mayor to resign just based on what this one lady said it was either on Twitter or Facebook. I don't remember which. It was blatantly racist. There is no question at all. But she'll lose her job probably because she's white, and you can't say things like that. And I totally disagree with what she said. It was just horrible. But, you have to be careful what you say.
But I mean, people can I think people can be outright racist, but there's some things that they're not. It's not at all. But the people can't. There was somebody here was complaining about. They were complaining that there weren't any separate toilet areas for Muslim women to pray in, and they got a Muslim woman on there, and it said, that just makes us look really. So, we're a small minority in the. Is there any Jewish rooms for them to do their things? Is there anything for? He said if we had one for every mind, there would be 500 sets of toilets. He said we can go home and pray and do that. That's not a problem. But it it highlights them. And one thing I heard is it said it used to be not so long back like us. We're Australians or you're American. That's it. Doesn't matter where we came from. We're that. And then people say, I'm from. Well, no, you're Australian. You're American.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been the thing. And I think a lot of people have lost that a bit. And even when the president or whatever they say, they're trying to do it for for the people that are there, no matter where they came from, and they're trying to look after the people who've come to America and Australia, come here for a better life. So the government's got to protect their way of life. So they've come here or there to have a nicer life. So I'm sure that they wouldn't want it to go down to not to be as nice a place as when they did come here. And I heard one of the things that was somebody complaining about the Donald Trump thing, and I just couldn't. I thought, hey, well, they were complaining, saying, that we're all illegals, we're illegal immigrants, and we're worried. I thought, well, you're there illegally, and you say that's not fair.
Well, they've had a friend in the White House for 8 years, and he specifically sued one of the border states to stop them from enforcing federal law on immigration. And that's the point, was to get them all in there, get them converted for the votes. They would have won this election if they'd been able to convert everybody before the election.
Anyway, but it's yes, politics is such a strange thing, but I think we can't live enough lifetimes to fully understand it.
No,
it's just a very strange thing. So.
Another thing too, it's interesting though the way the press handles these various things. The lady that made that horrible comment is in a little tiny town in West Virginia, but the headlines say West Virginia officials did this, is what the headlines are saying. And the West Virginia state officials had nothing to do with anything about this, nothing at all. It was this little clerk that makes very little money in this little tiny town. And then the mayor of that little tiny town. I mean, if they've got 1,000 people in this town, I would really be surprised. But all the press says West Virginia officials. So it looks like this is being condoned by the state. It's not at all.
And that's with social media and all that. Whatever you say, if you work for an organization and people know if you're there on behalf saying you do it, you're the spokesperson for that whole organization. So if she's an official, no matter how little, it's the government. It's all the officials saying that. So you just got to.
But I mean,
years ago, nobody would ever hear what it had to say.
I mean, but it was the town official though. It wasn't the state official. So if it's a state official, does that mean you can say this person is an official of the United States?
Yeah,
well, they're not. No, they're official of that state.
But like anywhere in the press, it doesn't make for a good story if it just said the truth or the 100%.
Yeah, it's true. Well, people will say the little town was so tiny, nobody would know where it was at, or anything. It's just weird. And of course, it might save them a little bit of trouble because some of the city protesters may come out there and protest, and there'll be more protesters than would be townspeople. It's a really tiny place.
But. Yeah, it would be interesting times coming up anyway. And I think, oh, goodness, we've been going over an hour now as well. We have, haven't we? So, yeah, it's been going ages now. So it just goes so down quickly. It's because we missed that week, you see. That was the problem.
It does. Yeah, I think that was it. Like I said, we missed 2 out of 3 weeks there because we had the one that we weren't able to do, and then we did the one, and then I messed up the last one. So we went 3 weeks with only one show.
Yeah, and then I thought, well, there might be one coming up missing because of Christmas, because sometimes you might get called in because you're Santa Claus for over the Christmas period, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm hoping that they have they have brought a bunch of temporary workers for Christmas time. They do that all the time, and so lately that has been cutting down on the. Looks like we got frozen up again. There we go. We're back. Okay. It does have a tendency to cut down on the amount of overtime that I would work during Christmas week itself. I think we're going to be visiting my parents in Florida. So I'm trying to figure out if I can actually take my wife's computer down there and get it rigged up to where I could actually do the show from Florida.
From your daughters, wasn't that the last time we did an OB, an outside broadcast?
Oh yeah, but that was on Blab. So with this, I have a feeling. I mean, I could definitely take a microphone and everything like that, but it's not going to be sound treated like it is here. So it may be a little echoey or something. But I'll see if I can. All I have to do is set it up on my wife's. I won't be able to watch the live feed, but I can set up the Skype call on that and bring me a microphone. I've got a microphone and a stand I can just bring over, and some headphones, and see if we can hook up down there. I'll have to see if my wife's computer can hook directly in. If not, it may be on Wi-Fi, and then we'll just be at the mercy of whatever we get. But I'll be closer to you, so.
And usually yours wouldn't make much difference because you're just using a Skype. You're
Yes.
not broadcasting anything. And as I said, if you don't watch the feed, that'd be fine. You just get whatever I send back through Skype, so that should be okay. So that will be interesting to see. So hopefully we don't miss too many. So I think we might nearly have to leave it there because it's nearly that time for the next show. What's it, number 27 we're up to for next time. So we're getting along, but there's always plenty to talk about us. And see, I didn't even mention the election, did I? You started it. So.
Yeah, well, we have plenty of other things to talk about.
That's why I really wanted to talk last week because it was just after it. So I thought, that would have been, I thought we'd still have a good conversation about
the election edition. There is one other thing I would like to say. 2 days from now, on the 18th of November, is my wife and I, we've been married 33 years at that point.
Oh, congratulations.
And, well, thanks, sir. Appreciate that. And like you say, we're going to go out and, we got some other things to do. It's my day off today, so we're going to go out and have us a dinner and, some things and do that today. And I have to work that day, but, that's the way it is. But anyway, like you say, I just like to state for the record that I just think that woman's great and I love her, and I'm going to go another 33 at least, I think.
Oh, that's great. So wish her all the best from me as well. So.
I surely will. Thank you, sir.
So, okay, with that, we'll say bye for now and see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening. Links for a free subscription, feedback, and everything else we do is at holbrooknewmedia.com. You can find all things Geoff Blanchard at geoffblanchard.com.